Hey, welcome back, tribe.
Well, we'd like to know what you think. Should Father's Day be renamed Special Persons Day? To vote in the poll.
Army recruiters have apparently been told not to hire as many men. News Corp is reporting defence recruiters have been warned they'll be penalised if they don't pick women to fill most jobs.
Well, because there's only 12% of women, and clearly that's an unhealthy environment.
That men cannot control themselves and deal with their own issues. It is not women's fault that men behave like morons and like pigs. You're okay. Did it because you liked me.
If you dropped into this country from outer space and started reading the media, you would think that the men of this country are vastly, they're wife-beating, porn-consuming, wife...
I'm the mother of 2 boys, and I see the way society is changing to a position where being a man is somehow you have to apologise for.
Sydney Barber is being taken to the Human Rights Commission after refusing to give a haircut.
Yeah, Sam Rahim is being accused of discrimination by a woman because he refused to cut her daughter's hair.
Yeah, the reason why we rejected it is because it's a barber shop. I only specialise in cutting men's hair. She could have just walked to the next hairdresser. Like I said, it's 20 seconds down where I am from.
Yeah, and there are laws to protect female gyms and female-only services.
And the best way to prevent this crime and keep all women safe isn't by changing the behaviour of women, but by changing the behaviour of men. Maybe we should be telling our boys not to rape them.
If I did to her what she did to me, I wouldn't be sitting here, I'd be in jail.
He wants to know about male victims of domestic violence.
Every reference in here is all pointing to the male being the perpetrator.
Now, we know some women's groups will challenge what you're about to hear. A report which says 1 in 3 are victims of some kind of abuse. They simply just don't always report it.
Now, you could buy Dad a cake at Woolworths over the weekend, but the supermarket giant also released a Special Persons Day cake.
G'day.
How are you?
I'm good. Do you remember me?
Yeah, I remember. I was wondering whether you remember.
I could not forget it. I've still got the picture on my phone.
What's happened?
When did we meet, Amy?
A few years ago, actually.
And what happened?
I went to get a picture with you after the show, and I kind of got dared to grope onto your downstairs region, and you were very shocked. So I've still got the picture on my phone.
I think you got removed by security.
I did get removed by security, and then you blocked me on Facebook.
And then you said, spew it.
Yeah, I was spewing.
To leave your kids with a male childcare worker. A 21-year-old man says he lost his job looking after kids at a hotel chain in Sydney. Now, it's that annoying habit of over-explaining basic concepts to women. It's called mansplaining. Explaining, so fellas.
The MeToo movement was meant originally, as we just heard, to empower women and give some women the confidence, I guess, to call out sexism. Has it been derailed a little?
Absolutely. It's been given women a licence to destroy men.
Well, now there are millions of parents and grandparents in this country who may be reluctant to show their children affection in public for fear they'll be labelled a dirty old man. It highlights a growing trend where all men are considered potential predators. Some of these innocent men have been questioned, even detained by police while going about their parental duties. As James Thomas reports,
on a flight to Sydney, passenger John McGurr says that Virgin Airlines treated him like a sexual predator.
A stewardess came up and she said, I'm going to have to ask you to move. I said, why? She goes, because you're not allowed to sit next to children, because you're a male.
as a successful female journalist in Australia, did you like men being banned this morning from the airwaves?
The red pill is about looking at these issues in an honest way, even when it's uncomfortable.
The documentary has been slammed by women's groups as misogynist propaganda.
A controversial documentary on the men's rights movement has had screenings in Melbourne cancelled after a petition claimed the film was misogynistic propaganda.
Firstly, it plays into the narrative of the men's rights groups, nutters who say that there's this incredibly oppressive feminist force that is suppressing men's voice. And this actually proves them right.
Being with us.
I would like to say I'm for gender equality, I'm for women's rights and men's rights now, and I'm not a men's rights activist, and the film was not funded by MRAs. That is a lie that's being perpetuated by Australian media. TheRedPillMovie.com.
Violence against women starts with disrespect. The excuses we make allow it to grow. Violence against women, let's stop it at the start.
That was disturbing. Especially how they use the image of little boys.
Right? You have to stop it at the beginning through little boys. You have to re-indoctrinate boys. This whole notion that men are sick, men are twisted, men are disgusting.
Right, inherently so.
Men are predators.
All of them.
Right, and you have to start when they're little boys to teach them there's something wrong with them and here's how we're going to fix you. Wow. This is feminism winning the PR battle, like the title was saying. And it's having such disgusting repercussions on society. The fact that if you're a grandfather, that you're looked at as a dirty old man if you try to take your kids out for a walk or take them to the playground to play, push them on the swing. Immediately, other mothers, other people will look at you like, why is he with a child? Sick pedo perv. How sick is that? And this is exactly what's weakening men, because having a mentor that's always a man, much older than you, who's experienced life, is now disintegrated in society. It's not even a thing anymore. I don't hear anything about mentors or men getting help from older men who've been through it all and can impart wisdom, guidance, aside from your father, if you even had one in the household now with all the dysfunction in the nuclear family.
Right. That's another thing. We know how important it is to have a strong male figure in your life, both as a male or a female, especially as a woman, I'd say.
Right, yeah.
And yet we continue to see this push to isolate men from everyone else.
Yeah. Fatherhood is not being... They're taking away the sanctity of fatherhood altogether.
Special Person's Day, you mean?
Special Person's Day. Being a father is being taken lightly now. Like, it's not that important. We don't need men. I don't need a man. He doesn't need a father. Daddy government suck on the teat of getting support, child support payments, the government, tax deductions, all that stuff. We've replaced the father with just simply money and a revolving door of men in their lives, from their single mothers that are going on dating sprees. And then you've birthed an entire generation of dysfunctional adults.
Right, and it's only getting worse because men are catching on to this, and now you see men being really resentful and bitter, and they think that their solution is going their own way and completely opting out, when in reality, I mean, that's not really solving the problem, and you're also, I'd say, diminishing your experience of life. You don't get to experience being a father or being a part of a family or having a good partner if you just check out.
I understand it, though. When you see stuff like this, I understand why you would rather detach yourself from the system entirely.
I understand why they're choosing to do that, but I'm saying
I get
it. It's
for
not
some
a
of them,
solution.
right? For some of them, though, they would rather not play the game at all, and their response to it is to just
right.
exit.
Their response is exiting themselves from the gene pool.
Right. Well, that's the decision they've made.
Yeah.
And the headaches of getting married, getting wrecked in court, the government protecting women so much, all the above that we've seen in the videos. I understand. I read it in the comments. They go like, hey, I've had such bad experiences that I got burned 2, 3, 4 times. I'm done. I've tried enough, and then that's it. And that's, you're a grown man. If you choose solitude like that, going your own way, or just having fun in the dating game casually instead of searching for a family and all that, more power to you. Not playing is a response. And a lot of men are going that way. And it's unfortunate because, again, the fullness of life will be missing. But also I understand their choices. It's just sad to see that how far and twisted feminism has come, that it's come to men completely checking out of the game altogether, which that should be a major symptom to society that something's wrong. And if people can't see that, destabilizes everything. Like where this leads down to in 15, 20, 30 years when men start quitting in mass, because this is just barely getting started.
Right.
It's barely catching on. I mean, what is it going to look like? The stats are already bad for men. Something, I don't know what I was reading. A high percentage of men at 21 years old in Gen Z, I believe, are virgins. Whether that's through like how skewed the dating game is, or how just awkward they are from not having the traditional masculine upbringing, and they're just not knowing how to find their own identity in themselves as men. They may be in a feminist household just like this that pushes the idea on them that they're predators, that they're evil, that they should behave a certain way. And when you condition someone like that, they don't have the proper tools to even go out into the world. And we're seeing that right now with, there's so many more men that are virgins than there used to be. There's so many more men failing behind in school, so many more men committing suicide, so many more men, everything, X, Y, and Z, all the negatives, mental health, all this is very prevalent in men today, unlike in any other time. And their only way to explain it is by society deconstructing the identity of a man. I mean, how else could you destroy a person, a male, essentially, and for them to have all these negative outcomes than to deconstruct their very identity? You're born evil. Like what more?
Right. And
how more disgusting?
If you do try to push back, then that's you exhibiting those toxic traits.
Exactly.
So it's really up to women, right? Especially women who do want to have a family and want to have a man in their life, to stand up for these men's rights, because it's not attractive for a man at the moment.
Yes. If more women stood up against their, nut job sisters that are doing this, the side effect to this is women will be in danger, because a weak man is extremely dangerous to women. When you build up men and you make them strong and virtuous with character, all the above, you will get a society that is very safe for women, as safe as it could possibly be. When you don't, and you destroy the male identity and you feminize men, they'll start lashing out. They're emotional. They will get abusive. Anger and whatnot, resentment will spill over into society, whether it's killings, shootings, whatever, name it, rapes. That's what happens when you have a weak man. Weak men do such things. This cannot course correct without women also stepping in, because the narrative is fully men are toxic. Any opinion a man gives is immediately discounted. How would you know you're an oppressor? The patriarchy, you're privileged, and until women step in and start calling them out, more women leading the fight against the craziness that is feminism today, I don't think this will change. This will spiral down until the point that men become such a echo of their own past that you can't even recognize what a man is anymore. You just look down the street and it's almost like another woman, how feminized they get, how meek, how agreeable.
Now.
Right. It's happening now. They're smaller. They're wearing tight clothes. Doughy.
Skinny.
Yeah. Putting on makeup, being feminine, having emotional breakdowns.
Painting their nails.
Right. It's like there's almost no masculinity left in the upbringing of a boy. And
there
God
really
forbid.
Isn't. It's very rare to see a man that is stoic and centered and manly and can do things with his hands. It's very rare.
Right. It's completely twisted what the male identity has become. And if you ever think this way, obviously I'm benefiting for the patriarchy. Who am I to talk? Toxic masculinity oozing out of me. You are white adjacent and benefiting from the patriarchy. And also, sis, you've internalized misogyny. So they'll discount you too, even though you're a woman. It's going to take a ton of people from both genders to stop this madness. It went from women wanting equality and just to have the same responsibilities as men and dealing with the same consequences, to we've absolved ourselves of all responsibility, and the consequences are now on men only. It's quite twisted.
I empathize with your concerns, right, being a man. But I also think there's a bit of confusion because I don't agree that most women wanted this or that women in general wanted this. I think this idea, especially feminism itself, started in higher academia with a certain kind and a certain class of women. I don't think normal women or like everyday women, working class women, feed into these feminist ideals because they like the idea of being a traditional woman and to have a traditional man.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of the women I've met and spoken to just kind of turn their heads and go, "Oh, feminism." It's always these women that are going to the liberal colleges, and unfortunately, power structure inside the colleges themselves that propagate this. And these women do hold some kind of high positions in society, or know men in high positions that can kind of move the needle in the direction that they want it to at the expense of the rest of society, but it benefits them. That's the tragedy in all this, that feminism is supposed to be this movement for all women, but it's really only benefiting a select few, and the rest of the women, especially the lower end of society, is struggling because those women can't have the same say independence that these higher end women are talking about. Like, oh my God, you don't need a man. It's like, well, that's not true. My income is $15,000 a year, and I also have a kid. It's like, I really do need a second income. I do need the man's help to support me. I would like,
or I want a man.
I want a man to start a family with, and both of us have to work to have even a semblance of a normal life. Because doing it on your own, on one income, you have to be a very privileged person in a very well-off position in society, especially these sorts of women that are talking this crazy shit. To say, like, you need no man, you don't need to do this. It's like, yeah, well, you're probably making $250,000 a year or more. You're highly educated. Your pool for men is already dried and dwindled up because women don't date down. So of course these women are like, well, I don't need men. They've themselves checked out. Feminism is basically women who've checked out of traditional dating. It's women going their own way. It's that perverse, twisted version. That's what it is. And now men are the pendulum has swung back. Right. The pendulum has swung back in the other perverse way, where men now are just checking out completely out of society. And then you get stuff like this, women getting raped on trains, men no longer getting married, men not going to school, men just saying, whatever, then you guys deal with it, which is also not the right answer. But here we are.